Hey guys, so I don't really do too many of these, but I noticed that there weren't really many reviews on the Mark 8, except for the videos that Will puts out himself. So the majority of the ones that are out there are for the Mark 6 and the Mark 10s, which are quite a bit different. So I wanted to do just a quick review, which I did. I did pick this up from Will personally in his shop, which was super cool. Cool guy. Got to see a lot of his stuff, things he's working on, custom knives, regrinds, other little projects here and there. A lot of cool stuff. So that was a really neat experience for me, getting my first custom knife from the maker, from his shop, from my home state. So cool stuff. Anyway, the first thing you notice when you pick this knife up is really how light it is, and I think a lot of that has to do with the milling that Will does on the inside of these scales. These are not solid slab. They do have some pockets milled into them, which is pretty cool. And I mainly compare this knife to my all-time favorite EDC knife, and that is my Sebenza 25. Okay, and I use this knife. I have used this knife for just about everything. Borderline abuse it, and it is just a workhorse. And so they are almost the exact same size, almost identical. However, the Mark 8 does have a little bit of a thinner blade. Get in on that for you. Okay, and then the Mark 8 does have those pockets milled in. Now, I did weigh these. This is about 5 ounces for the Sebenza 25, and it's about 3.7 ounces for the Mark 8. So the other thing that I've found really remarkable about this knife is the flipping action. Super fast, super smooth, almost like it's just glass. And it is on bearings, caged bearings. Will does a fantastic job putting these together, getting these just absolutely spot on so that the action is it's flawless. And, no noises, perfectly centered, solid lockup, it's good to go, and it's got some jimping up here, which is good. It's the only jimping on the entire knife. The Mark 10s I know are a little bit different in that aspect. But I think that this is, that's a pretty good purchase there. I like it. No real hot spots. It's a good working knife if you wanted to use a custom knife as a working tool. I haven't decided yet. So my particular model here has bronze on the edges with a crushed ice on the chamfers, and then satin on the flats. Now, something that I didn't know until I actually picked this knife up is that Will also did a crushed ice all the way around the blade spine. All the way down, and then into the choil, onto the flipper. Just an amazing attention to detail. Let me see if I can get in there, see those, maybe from this side, see those pockets. No, not enough lighting. Well, they're in there, trust me. So he does have a G10 backspacer on some of the elite models. I know he goes with a Mk8 or titanium, something else other than just a standard G10. He does a lot of his pocket clips. The majority of them are G10, which I was a little skeptical of. It's actually a good size. It's pretty springy. I didn't know G10 had that characteristic, but feels good. Doesn't really bend, which is good, so it does feel somewhat strong. I'm pretty confident in it. We'll see how that goes, and go from there. But I love the smooth transitions on this knife. He does his pocket on the inside, and it's kind of a different shape than I've ever typically seen. Usually these pockets are rounded or something like that, and he does this really neat, just kind of hard angles. I like it a lot. Flips great, and his blade grind, this is all done by hand, is just phenomenal. This is awesome. You know, he's got his signature right up there, which is pretty cool. If you've seen the process of how he does this, I think it's called a pentagram, and so that is actually not etched. That's not a stencil. That is, he signs each blade, I think, with a diamond cutter. So that's, you know, just more of that personal touch. These are all custom pivots that he anodizes. He anodizes all the screws together so they're the same color. But these are custom pivots that he orders from, I forget the name of the guy, but he's a pivot maker. You know, fasteners, things like that. He anodizes these all together, and then what he does from there is he marries that pivot to the blade. I think he uses a lapping compound, something like that, so that the center pivot hole for the blade is actually lapped and polished along with the pivot, so that they are married together to create that just fantastically smooth action. It's I can't even begin to explain how awesome that is. You know, and then of course I have the harpoon, which is super cool. This is my first harpoon knife that I've ever owned, and I like it. I like it a lot. I'm not sure of the usefulness of it, but it's just super cool looking. All right, so there's that, and then I'll lay this out here too, because these two knives are almost identical in length, and so far, kind of, I feel like this is a Sebenza with a flipper. You know, it's kind of how it feels in the hand. The thicknesses are kind of the same. The length is the same. The blade shape, you know, Sebenza might have a little bit more belly to it, but they're not too far off. The only real main difference here is obviously the harpoon, and then this has way more of a hollow grind, which is super polished. I'm not usually a fan of polished edges, but man, this thing's sharp enough to make up for it, so that's okay. But so there you go. Just a real quick overview of my Mark 8. I wanted to explain to you guys a little bit about it. Oh, and one last thing, if you didn't notice, all of Will's knives are tapered. So see, it's thicker there, and then it runs thinner towards the back. And he does that to aid in the carry of the knife, so that you have a thinner portion sitting in your pocket. And I gotta say, it works. It works really well. It feels like it is a much smaller knife in the pocket. And though this isn't a deep carry clip, you don't really have a lot sticking up. It actually sits pretty low. But so yeah, I mean, if you guys are in the market for a custom knife, I give Will Moon a look for sure. He makes some pretty good stuff.